So another day, another headline about the IDF terrorists in Gaza and the West Bank murdering people again. This time, the IDF terrorists have murdered a 7-month-old Palestinian baby with a U.S. issued machine gun. So all of you so-called Christian Zionists here that are supporting this stuff, you're just as responsible for it. I mean, all the U.S. taxpayers are who don't stand up against these things. This is a U.S. issued machine gun, and more than likely, U.S. issued ammo for that said machine gun. They murder the 7-month-old Palestinian baby and then just walk away from the scene, like they always do. And in the meantime, the Israeli government says, oh, we're going to investigate it. We'll let you know. So the criminals are going to investigate the criminals. Great. Wonderful. I'm sure something will come of it, like it always does, right? So the baby's father says Israeli soldiers emptied their rifles into his car despite seeing a family inside. And they do this all the time. They make games of it when they line up for aid, food aid in the Gaza Strip. And they'll tell the troops to go ahead and light up the food lines with machine gun fire. I mean, it's just unbelievable what they're doing. I mean, it's a genocide, so it makes sense, right? So Israeli soldiers slaughtered a 7-month-old Palestinian baby in the occupied West Bank after opening fire on the family car, despite the vehicle stopping when ordered. And the article goes on to say the father put his hands up onto the steering wheel to make sure, they could see his hands and complied with their orders. Like it said, he fully stopped and they lit up the car anyway and killed their 7-month-old baby. In the meantime, we've got all the Christian Zionists defending this. And so right after I saw the first article I just showed you, I came across this one from Incite to Incite. This is from last year. Cut off and replaced what Romans 11 really teaches about the unbelieving Jews. This is the definitive, understandable explanation of Romans 11 for the common man, and it's very good. He goes in depth here to all the different sections of Romans 11. And I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, so forgive me, I'm not trying to make you dizzy or anything. I'm going to scroll down here because he has a summary of all of this, but it's very good. I recommend you read the whole thing if you truly want to understand Romans 11 and what it really means. So here it is, Romans 11 in a nutshell. So here's the whole chapter in one bite. Romans 11 is not a lifeline for unbelieving Jews, which is what the Christian Zionists claim. It's a verdict. Unbelieving Jews are cut off from God and his covenant in Romans 11:17 and 19 to 20. Believing Gentiles have replaced them by faith, Romans 11:19 to 20. Gentiles are told to stay humble because they stand where others fell, and because the same God who cut off the Jews for not believing will cut off anyone who abandons the faith. Romans 11:18, and 22. All Israel will be saved does not promise all who share Abraham's lineage will be saved. True Israel is defined by faith, not bloodline, as Paul already taught in Romans 9:6. The covenant promise is the removal of sin in Christ, not land or ancestry, Romans 11:27. Paul says plainly that the Jews are enemies of Christians and God, present tense, and yet they are beloved of what God's redemptive plan accomplished through the Jewish patriarchs, past tense, to bring about the Messiah and our salvation, Romans 11:28 to 29. The gifts and calling are irrevocable in the sense that God's redemptive plan through them to the world cannot be erased from history. Not in the sense that individual Jews retain any blessing outside of Christ. Jesus said it himself, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father but through me. I mean, it's quite simple. So stop letting Romans 11 be used as a fog machine. There is one tree of faith. Unbelieving Jews have been cut off. Believing Gentiles have taken their place. We should not mistreat them just because God has cast them off. Jews, like anyone else, can join the covenant if they don't persist in unbelief. And because of this open promise, accessible by faith in Jesus, all of true Israel, defined by Paul 2 chapters before as those who believe in Christ, and not those related to Abraham, will be saved. Seed of the promise. And so there you go. I'll go ahead and put a link up to this so you can read the entire thing. But that was a good summary by JD. But I do recommend you read the whole thing if you want a better understanding of what Romans 11 truly means and what it really teaches about the unbelieving Jews. Which brings me to Yana Banoon's Substack over here on Substack, right? She's got a new article up entitled Welcome to Zionism 2.0. And in this particular article, she's going to get into why Netanyahu's plan to end the U.S. aid is actually a backdoor trap for the digital autonomy and freedom of everyday Americans. Yes, if this goes through, and it looks like it's going to, then the Israeli militaries, the intelligence agencies, and all of the U.S. military and all of their intelligence agencies, all the alphabet agencies in the U.S. will essentially be merged with Israel, at least on the intelligence and military sides. And they've already sounded the alarm, right, about the Pentagon has about the Israeli spies and how all of their phones have been infiltrated and everything inside the Pentagon is compromised because of Israeli spying. Now, here we go. Now they're just going to merge it all. They don't have to worry about spying anymore. They'll just all be sharing information, no matter how sensitive it is. So here we go. There's a major shift happening in Washington right now, and it's buried inside hundreds of pages of military jargon. If you listen to the mainstream news, you might hear that Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu recently announced that Israel wants to draw down to zero the billions of dollars of direct financial aid it gets from the American taxpayers. On the surface, it looks like a great thing, a sign that Israel has grown up since babyhood and wants to stand on its own 2 feet. But that's not what's happening out of the goodness of Netanyahu's heart. It is a calculated, pre-planned change in the direction. By walking away from the standard cash aid, a new system is being built to replace it. Total digital and military integration of the USA and Israel. Congress is fast-tracking a piece of legislation that moves the USA-Israel relationship away from the transparent cash transfers and directly locks Israeli mass surveillance artificial intelligence into the infrastructure of the United States. And here's another link you can check on that. Congress wants to tie the United States to Israel with this new legislation. It's a trap. It's right. Even the mainstream's talking about it being a trap. For the Israel First theorists whose thinking and position papers guided its formulation, it is the proverbial camel's nose by making the United States increasingly dependent on Israeli technology in AI, quantum computing, high-powered lasers, cyber warfare, anti-drone systems, and other advanced fields, while also transferring America's most sophisticated technologies to Israeli governments. Israel and its advocates are quietly steering the relationship away from patronage or even partnership and towards something more asymmetrical, a structure designed to harness the American power for the aims of Zionism 2.0. That's become the United States of Israel, essentially. So when you combine this invisible digital net with new domestic laws designed to silence anyone who complains about Israel, yeah, we've talked about that before, all these new laws that are coming out, you get a blueprint for unprecedented control over the digital lives, privacy, and free speech of everyday American citizens. Here's exactly what's happening, where the bill stands right now, and why it poses a direct danger to the American public. Section 224 raises concerns about the exporting of Israeli AI warfare to the U.S. and privacy concerns for Americans. While joint research and development and co-production already exist in some of these spheres, most notably in missile and air defense technology, the proposed expansion into other spheres, particularly AI and data fusion, raise troubling implications. Widespread reports about Israel's use of AI-generated target lists and tracking tools through programs codenamed Lavender, The Gospel, and Where's Daddy during its ongoing genocide of Palestinians in Gaza have raised concerns about machine error and the indiscriminate and disproportionate attacks generated by AI with little or no human oversight. Yeah, very little, if any, human oversight. And engaging in partnerships for data fusion with Israeli companies also raises privacy concerns for U.S. citizens. Yeah, no kidding. Especially given the fact that the Israeli government is paying U.S. influencers to push Israeli propaganda. Yeah, and all of these Christian Zionist churches too. They're setting up geofencing, that monitors everybody's phone that comes in and comes out of that church or even the parking lot of that church. It's absolutely ridiculous anymore. And yet they keep getting away with it because of this administration, right? So Section 224 paves the way for unlimited taxpayer funds to benefit Israeli weapons and weapons manufacturers. So it says here Israel's proposal to end U.S. military funding is actually designed to further enmesh the U.S. in its oppression of Palestinians. So the U.S. is complicit in all of this. And this is one of the big reasons it's going to be destroyed. It's Mystery Babylon. Revelation 18 is coming and coming soon. Section 224 of the NDAA orders the U.S. Secretary of Defense to appoint a special executive agent whose sole job, get this, is to merge the integration of the Israeli military technology straight into United States military and intelligence systems. This will bypass any red tape that's remaining out there. The bill uses highly sanitized terms to mask what is happening. Of course they do. They always do. They always try and word it and show it as a benefit for the American people, like the Patriot Act, right? But there was nothing patriotic about that. It eviscerated the Constitution and all of its protections, especially the Fourth Amendment. But anyway, it lists 9 district domains for this merger, but 2 specific terms should alarm every American: network integration and data fusion. In plain language, data fusion means taking different streams of data, surveillance feeds, internet traffic, cell phone metadata, financial tracking, biometric, facial recognition, and dumping them into a single, massive AI-driven pool that both governments can access. Network integration means plugging Israeli computer brains directly into our computer brains. For decades, when the U.S. gave Israel billions of dollars in foreign military financing, that money came with legal strings. Under U.S. laws like the Foreign Assistance Act and the Leahy laws, if a foreign country uses American weapons to commit severe human rights violations or block humanitarian aid, Congress technically has the power to cut off the supply. So why haven't they? Because Israel's already paid off all of Congress, every single one of them. And there's only a few that are paid to stand in opposition. One of those was Marjorie Taylor Greene, and the other one was Massey. Controlled opposition. Don't be fooled. Netanyahu knows that public opinion in America is shifting, with 60% of Americans now having unfavorable view of Israel, and he knows that future Congresses or presidents might actually enforce those human rights laws to freeze aid. His proposal to draw down U.S. cash aid to zero is a brilliant escape hatch for Israel. By replacing cash aid with deep tech integration, the relationship completely bypasses the standard of foreign aid laws. It shifts everything into a labyrinth of classified Pentagon procurement contracts, joint software research, and corporate data sharing licenses. Once Israeli AI surveillance software is permanently woven into the backbone of American intelligence agencies, it can't be unelected, it can't be audited by the public, and it can't be conditioned on human rights. It becomes permanent and bulletproof. That's what I wanted to highlight out of that segment right there. All of this will become permanent and bulletproof. There will be no undoing this. Who's going to undo it? All of the Israeli paid off Congress people and senators? You think they're going to undo this? Never. Never going to happen. If Israel gains backdoor access to the full digital infrastructure watching Americans, a natural problem arises. The American people have a tendency to eventually figure it out, get angry, and use their constitutional rights to expose it. That's where the second part of the trap snaps shut. To prevent the public from fighting back, Washington is simultaneously rolling out highly aggressive anti-Semitism laws and weaponizing the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism. The danger here has nothing to do with protecting people from religious hatred. Instead, these new anti-Semitism laws are written so broadly, they deliberately blur the line between real bigotry and political dissent. For example, under these new expanded definitions of anti-Semitism, if an investigative journalist exposes an Israeli tech company spying on Americans, or if a citizen harshly criticizes the action of the Israeli military, that speech can now be flagged as a hate crime or threat to national security. And if you're a threat to national security, guess what? You don't have any rights. The NDAA that Obama signed in 2012 assured us of that. And if you're classified as a terrorist, then they can detain you indefinitely, and the Constitution does not apply. You have zero rights left once they deem you a threat to national security. The fuse, not that we have any rights really anyway at this point, especially when it comes to criticizing Israel, which I'm going to do until I don't have breath anymore. The fused cyber surveillance grid will scan public forums, social media, alternative media sites, and messaging platforms, harvesting data on American citizens. If you write an article, post a video, or share information exposing this military industrial integration, the AI will instantly flag your account based on the broad new speech laws. Because the system's fully automated and integrated, they won't need to send police to your door to lock you up. Instead, they can silence you instantly with the click of a button by pressuring tech monopolies to delete your social media accounts, freeze your Substack or publishing platforms, and coordinate with payment processors to shut down your bank accounts. When you combine Sections 224 data fusion with laws that criminalize political criticism, the traditional protections of the American Constitution are completely neutralized. Indeed, all of the so-called Bill of Rights is neutralized. The Fourth Amendment, your right to be free from warrantless spying, is destroyed by the automated military data pool. Well, that was destroyed in 2001 with the Patriot Act, but anyway. The First Amendment, your right to speak freely and expose government corruption, is destroyed by speech codes enforced by that very same data pool. This is how control is established in the modern era. It's not an army marching down your street, but rather an unaccountable U.S.-Israel corporate structure that owns the software watching your life, holding the absolute power to turn off your digital existence if you dare to speak out against it. Yes, that tracks with the recent history of that office. In December of 2025, Trump nominated and the Senate confirmed Rabbi Yehuda Kaplan as the U.S. Special Envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism, which they are creating all by themselves with their genocide in Gaza and, of course, their murders that continue in the West Bank, as I just showed you at the beginning of this video. So there it is. There's the press release about Smith commending the Senate's confirmation of Rabbi Yehuda as U.S. Special Envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism. He says, I look forward to working alongside Rabbi Kaplan and his office of the Special Envoy to eradicate the spiritual cancer of anti-Semitism that metastasizes around the world. Kaplan was born in Israel to a prominent Chabad Lubavitch family and is an ordained Chabad rabbi. So why is he having anything to do with our government? All of these dual citizens need to be stripped of their power and kicked out of government, but they're everywhere. His appointment made him the most senior Hasidic Jewish official in U.S. government history. Because a law passed in late 2020 elevated this anti-Semitism czar role to the official rank of ambassador, he wields significant diplomatic and policy-shaping influence as an Israeli citizen. Unreal. Immediately upon taking office, Kaplan pioneered what he calls a consequence-centered approach. He's been a vocal supporter of the Trump administration's agenda to strip federal funding, tax-exempt status, and university accreditation from institutions that allow protests, speech critical of Israel. Under his office, the push to legally enforce the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism across federal agencies has accelerated. Because this definition classifies certain criticisms of the Israeli state or military as hate speech, which is complete BS, it provides the exact legal pretext to trigger blacklists, which I'm already on. I've been on since 2017, almost 10 years now. And in 2016, I wasn't doing any of this. I took almost a year off. But anyway, this is where his role directly interfaces with the data fusion bill. The envoy's office sets the policy definitions for what constitutes a threat or hate speech. The integrated AI military surveillance system will then provide the raw power to scan, flag, and track American citizens across those lines. By placing a well-connected Orthodox Jewish insider into an ambassador-level position with the power to dictate speech policies, the administration effectively institutionalized the exact censorship mechanisms required to protect the underlying military tech integration from being exposed or stopped by the American public. Welcome to Zionism 2.0. And don't forget, to go along with all this censorship, you can't criticize AI data centers either, or you're going to get flagged. right? Or go and protest in person. Then you're really going to get flagged. This free speech is absolutely gone. I mean, the tech bros have taken it all over. Unreal. I had to get a drink of water out of my wonderful hydrogen water bottle made by Living Water. I'm going to have more on that coming up later. But most of it's going to be over on my Substack since YouTube flags H2 water as medical misinformation these days. So, anyway, this is the high tech upgrade that ordinary people never got to vote on. It marks a moment, the moment, a traditional nationalist movement that used to be about concrete borders and conventional politics, changing into something completely different. A digital empire built on data dominance and code. The old days of begging for American taxpayer cash are officially over. The architects of Zionism 2.0 don't care about changing hearts and minds. They're building the permanent, invisible digital prison that monitors, tracks, manages the daily life of people into total compliance with everything Israel is doing and dreaming about. But the digital surveillance loop is just the beginning. The deeper agenda involves the global installation of Noahide laws imposed directly by this new AI security system. A topic so critical it deserves its own dedicated investigation in my next piece right after I publish Kabbalah for the Goyim Part 3. And so there you go, guys. Once again, I highly recommend Yana's blog. She does a really good job. I think she's an excellent writer. And she really did a great job on researching all of this and putting it together. So there you go. Welcome to Zionism 2.0. As the IDF terrorists continue to murder in the Gaza Strip and West Bank with impunity. Also Lebanon, let's not forget that. They're bombing Beirut right now, even though Trump said that they agreed not to. Can't believe anything these people say. You can't believe anything they even put into writing and sign their names to, because they'll violate it then the very next day or maybe even the same day. Lying is the way to go these days, apparently. Oh, we're going to agree to peace, but then we're going to bomb you. How many times has the U.S. done that to Iran in the past couple of years? Just saying. There will be no permanent peace until Jesus Christ returns. By the way, he is the way, the truth, and the life, and no one gets to the Father but through him. I've talked about that already today. Make him your Lord and Savior today while there's still time. He's the only way through this great tribulation that we're in right now. And the wrath of God, the day of the Lord is coming soon. And you don't want to be here for that. So seek Jesus Christ now while there's still time, because the door of the ark is about to close. So I can't emphasize that enough. And that will be it for this episode. Don'tSpeakNews.com is home base for all that we do. I put a lot of things here that I just can't put anywhere else. There's over 3,000 stories now on the website. Speaking of the website, the funding for the website hosting is due beginning of July. So we're starting the fundraiser now, so we have plenty of time to hit our goals. And it's also for funding, for the month of June 2026 as well. So it's kind of a combination fundraiser. So I got that on the top of the website now at don'tspeaknews.com. I'll put the link up like I always do. And then we have the Daniel 8 and Revelation 14 prophecies post I put up the other day, which wouldn't make it onto YouTube. It wouldn't upload. I kept trying and trying, and it kept saying working, and it would just freeze up, and I'd have to close the program and all that stuff. So I don't know what happened there, but that's on the website at don'tspeaknews.com. And many, many other stories just like it. A lot of things that we can't post anywhere else because they just get taken down. And so, if you'd like to subscribe, there's a way to do so at the bottom of every article. You'll get one pop-up while you're here. But you can click on this tab right here and type in your email, hit subscribe, and then you'll be notified every time there's a new post. Don't Speak News or Proton Mail is how you get in touch with me. And Rumble, BitChute, Telegram, YouTube, all the ways to find us, all the places to find us, I should say, are right here on that page underneath this tab here. And that'll be it for now. God bless, take care. Johnny Storm, Don't Speak News.